They say madness has no form, but Suzuki put it on two wheels. Imagine a missile with handlebars. A monster born from the Hayabusa engine without fairing and without fear. The Viking wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a battle cry against the status quo. Join me in remembering the most brutal naked bike ever created. It all began in the year 2001, an unusual year, one of those that felt like a glitch in the Matrix. The internet still emitted that unbearable dial-up screeching sound. Computers were white, square, and resembled microwave ovens, and the world was caught halfway between the analog and digital realms. In that context, Suzuki appeared and thought, what if we drop a bomb at the Tokyo Motor Show? And thus, the concept of the Suzuki Viking was born. A gigantic naked bike, a creature straight out of a science fiction comic. It had at its core nothing less than a turbocharged Hayabusa engine. Yes, the fastest beast they had created, but with a turbo. It was like putting steroids into Hulk. The design appeared as if it were the creation of a video game designer who had completely lost control. Sharp-edged plastics, aggressive lines, and an imposing presence that shouted, "Move aside if you wish to survive." The exhausts were absolutely a complete joke. Two enormous pipes resembling twin washing machines hanging at the rear that made any other motorcycle next to it appear like a mere bicycle. And if that didn't completely blow your mind, it possessed something that no other prototype during that period had. A remote control mechanism to initiate it from a considerable distance. Can you imagine? Like a future auto-tuning, but on a motorcycle. Something that not even Fast and Furious dared to include. The Viking was not merely a motorcycle, it was a visionary dream. A Japanese innovation conceived in a laboratory where engineers had unrestricted freedom and no supervision. It demonstrated what Suzuki was capable of accomplishing. Yes, they didn't care about the budget, logic, or the laws of physics. But naturally, it was a prototype, a bold declaration of war against monotony, a message in a bottle that proclaimed, "Observe what we could achieve if we were utterly and completely insane." And for 6 whole years, the entire world was utterly convinced it had been exactly that, a parlor madness, something that is showcased once, applauded, dreamed about, and then forgotten. But nobody forgot because the Viking left a mark on the retina of all the fans, and that mark kept burning. However, in the year 2007, defying all expectations, Suzuki successfully brought the Viking model into full production. Indeed, that insanity on steroids from the Tokyo Motor Show transformed into an actual motorcycle, complete with a comprehensive user manual and even an accessories catalog. Nobody could believe it. It was as if Lamborghini had placed a prototype with a spaceship-like design on the street without altering a single aspect. Now, evidently, there were modifications. It didn't come with a turbo? Dreams don't always come true. But Suzuki made up for it with an atomic bomb under the tank. The engine of the Hayabusa is renowned. It boasts 1340 cubic centimeters with inline cylinders. It is legendary for shattering speed records, a block capable of launching a missile. But in this case, a muscular naked bike with wheels. 180 horsepower, no filters, no shame, no limits. And the most brutal thing wasn't the power itself, but how it delivered it. The torque was so brutal that you felt stretched like a rubber band. You accelerated and your arms turned into springs. It was like grabbing onto the tail of a rocket and hoping not to let go. And here comes the best or the worst, depending on how brave you are. It had no electronic aids. Zero. There was absolutely no ABS, no traction control system, and no driving modes whatsoever. It was simply you, your right wrist, and your innate survival instinct. It was like going on a dinosaur hunt with just a wooden spear. Pure adrenaline with no room for error. If the Viking decided to take off, you had to hang on tight, or it would fly non-stop. And it was not just raw power. It was remarkably well crafted. No cheap plastics or loose screws were to be found. It had a quality of materials that bordered on the artisanal. Every line, every screw, every curve of the design seemed to come out of a secret Japanese laboratory where designers also made swords, samurais, and giant robots. Aesthetically, it was a journey to the future, aggressive, muscular, with attitude. It was a bike that didn't ask for permission. It shouted at you from across the street, Some said it looked like a transformer about to become a robot. Others thought it was just plain ugly. But no one remained indifferent. The production Viking was a declaration of war. You didn't want to share a garage with it. You wanted to build it an altar. I love it or I hate it. There was no middle ground. That was the most common reaction when someone saw a Suzuki Viking in person. Because this motorcycle was not designed to merely please, it was engineered to make a significant impact, and it certainly achieved that. The Viking was a truly colossal beast. Its curb weight surpassed 260 kilograms, which already rendered it quite intimidating. It wasn't a motorcycle designed for weaving between cars during rush hour traffic. No, this was a creature from another planet, needing ample space to maneuver. Space and respect. It was tall, broad, long, and muscular. It occupied more space than numerous cruisers, and its side exhausts, my goodness, resembled two bazookas. Quite literally. Two enormous silencers that appeared to be crafted for a military aircraft, not merely for a motorcycle. Some individuals adored them, while others remarked that they resembled suspended air conditioning units. But again, no one ignored them. The Viking didn't just enter a place, it made an entrance, and visually. Envision a Hayabusa that departed from the racing scene and headed to the gym, not with the intention of getting fit, but instead to bulk up on steroids, consume protein, and lift weights using its teeth. Muscles were prominent everywhere, with angular fuel tanks, sharply defined lines, aggressive-looking headlights, enveloping plastics, and a silhouette that resembled more of a science fiction concept than an actual production motorcycle. And what did the different audiences say? The purists, those who love minimalist naked bikes, hated it. They said it didn't have a naked soul, that it was too faired, too decorated, that it didn't convey the essence of a street fighter. The touring enthusiasts, the Tudors, said it was uncomfortable, that it lacked aerodynamic protection, that the seat was hard, and that the tank seemed designed to split you in half if you braked hard. And the purists, those enthusiasts of pure sports motorcycles, perceived the Viking as a robust and awkward intruder, akin to a gorilla masquerading as a sprinter. However, you know what? Absolutely everyone discussed it, and that's what truly matters. It certainly didn't go unnoticed. In a world full of motorcycles that all looked the same, the Viking was a punch in the face. It was polarizing, yes, but it was also authentic. And that in the world of motorcycles is worth gold. Not really. Approximately. The Yamaha FZ boasted around 150 horsepower, while the Kawasaki Z didn't even achieve 130, and the Honda CBR wasn't even in existence. During that period, no one was competing in the Vikings League. It was an absolute powerhouse of a muscle bike, comparable to a VMAX, but with 3 times the quantity of steroids and a direct infusion of science fiction elements. If you placed it beside any other naked bike, it seemed as though you had utilized Photoshop to magnify it by 200%. And naturally, it failed. In 2008, the global economic downturn hit. The world was crumbling, and Suzuki was trying to sell a pricey, huge motorcycle with 180 horsepower in a market where people wanted practical choices. It sold extremely little, very little indeed. Some dealers were uncertain about where to place them, so they offered discounts, left them on display, or shipped them to other countries. It was a hard blow for Suzuki, a motorcycle made with the soul of a show bike and the heart of a dragon sold to people who wanted a normal naked bike for commuting. Today the story is different. The Viking has become a cult piece. Those who have it don't sell it, and those who are looking for it know what they're buying. A Hayabusa engine with a more sophisticated yet equally explosive performance, a comfortable riding position, a distinctive presence. No one confuses a B-KING for any other motorcycle. There are only a limited number of examples available. Their prices are steadily increasing, and enthusiasts of extreme motorcycles perceive it as the final act of madness permitted by a Japanese brand before electronics and sensibility spoiled everything. The Viking was a contradiction on wheels, an absurd, irrational, unnecessary motorcycle, and for that very reason, absolutely brilliant. Suzuki did what no one else dared to do. They took their strongest engine, placed it in a naked bike, and gave it a design that screamed, "To hell with it." The logic wasn't perfect, not understood, but it was real. In an era where everything is precisely measured by complex algorithms, advanced sensors, and digital screens, the Viking reminds us that there was a time when pure madness roared down the street like a wild demon. Today, it's a true legend. If you want to meet its close relative, the Hayabusa, the queen of Japanese speed, click on this video, and I'll see you there.